Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kemmons Wilson School Student and Alumni Panel. This is part of our KWS Showcase Week, and we're really excited to introduce you to some of our current students as well as alumni of the Kemmons Wilson School. So for those of you who do not know, we have several majors at KWS. We have the Sport and Leisure Management major, as well as the Hospitality and Resort Management major. And now you have a couple of concentration options in that major that didn't exist a few years ago. So you can opt to have a concentration in lodging, in culinary arts, or you don't have to have a concentration at all. So you have several options. I'm gonna get started with some housekeeping rules here. So I am asking folks to mute your microphone until you're willing to contribute to our discussion tonight. And this session and chat box will be recorded, and we'll be sharing it with students who aren't able to join us today, just so you know. I ask that you feel free to use the chat box to add comments or ask questions. And those questions will be sent directly to me as the moderator of this event. So you will not be able, you shouldn't be able to chat with one another at this point. The rules of the game for tonight. So I ask that you listen with respect and without interrupting whoever's speaking at the time. I want you to be really open-minded about what we're talking about tonight and share the talking time permitted with others. And if you would like to receive a copy of tonight's PowerPoint, just send a private chat message to me, Marta, with your email address, and I will send that to you tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. So without further ado, this is who I am, Marta Lopez-Flor, the Recruitment and Retention Coordinator for the Kemmons Wilson School. I encourage you to reach out to me directly via email or Google Voice numbers. It's great for text messaging, so if you ever need to reach me that way, I know that younger people prefer text messaging these days, so by all means, don't be shy about doing that. We have some student ambassadors and current Kemmons Wilson School students with us. We have Miss Cynthia Boyer, and yes, we are Tiger Strong during this pandemic, more so than ever before. Believe it or not, our culinary school is open for classes. We have decreased our class sizes so that we can provide ample social distancing space, and our students have to sign in following a daily contact tracing measure that we have here. And masks are required on campus at all times. So we look forward to living in a post COVID-19 world, but you get to see how cool we look in our masks here too. Next up, we have Noah Fleener, and Noah is wearing his mask. He's a senior in the Hospitality and Resort Management program. Noah has some really unique perspectives because he was a transfer student to the U of M, and he did his internship with Disney Parks and Resorts. So he's got some great stuff to share with you tonight. We're supposed to have Paul Garcia join us tonight. So Paul is actually a general manager at a hotel in one of the Carolinas. So this is a new position, and something tells me he must be caught up. So don't be surprised if Paul Garcia joins us. He's actually a senior in our program right now, and he was a longtime Hilton Corporation executive, and then when Hilton pivoted with the pandemic and he had to make some adjustments, he said, you know what, I'm going to finish my degree, and he decided to return to the operational level of hotels. And here we have Miss Stephanie Siegel. Stephanie is definitely one of the stars of our program. She's launched her career with STAR, and you'll hear a little bit more about STAR when Stephanie gets to speak tonight. But I'm so happy you're here. I'm just thrilled. Thank you for being here tonight. And then we have Chris Vichatet. Chris and I know each other quite well. We've done a lot of career development together, and Chris went on the IHG first look trip with me a few years ago now, right, Chris? I think it was like 2 years ago. But thanks for being here. He was a Sport and Leisure Management major, and he has a natural connection to the hospitality industry through culinary arts. So he's unique in that he's using all of his crafts and all of his skills. And last but not least, we have Mr. Ian White. Ian was a Hospitality and Resort Management major as well, and Ian graduated less than a year ago, so he has a fresh perspective of what it's like to, you know, go out into the industry. I'm so sorry, I almost forgot about our admissions counselor, former KWS student, okay? He graduated from our program as a Sport and Leisure Management major, so we do have Sammy Morris in the house, and Sammy is going to be really beneficial to us just because he can give us some other admissions updates, or if you have any questions about admissions related stuff, Sammy's our guy. And he happens to be the liaison from admissions that works with Kemmons Wilson School students, applicants as well. So without any further ado, we're going to do a quick little icebreaker. So our icebreaker tonight, just to get us warmed up and going, our virtual icebreaker. We know your names, but I want to know where you're from and what's your favorite restaurant or team. So my name is, I'm going to go first, and then I'll just throw it to the next person I see on the screen. Okay. So my name is Marta, and I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I'm an East Coast gal. So I went to high school in Pennsylvania, and I went to college in New York City. And my favorite team is the New York Yankees. But let me explain why, because I know there's some Yankee haters out there. Okay. It's because I taught in the South Bronx for a number of years. And so you can't teach in the South Bronx and not be a Yankees fan. Like, my students would have been mad at me. So I had to do this, okay? So Noah, if you'd like to go next, go ahead.
Like Marta said, my name is Noah. I'm from here, Memphis, born and raised. Then my favorite restaurant would have to be, oh gosh, I just love food. So like, kind of makes it hard to have a favorite restaurant, but pretty much any place has good sushi. I'm just gonna say that any place has good sushi, I'm happy.
Okay. Cynthia, can you go next?
Hey, I'm Cynthia. I'm from a little town called Somerville. It's like 40 minutes east of here. And I can't pick a favorite restaurant, so we're definitely going to a favorite team. And my favorite team is the 901 FC soccer team because I played soccer in high school.
Very cool. All right, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I am from Memphis, born and raised. I now live in Nashville, Tennessee, and am a proud first-time home buyer. My favorite restaurant in Memphis, I would probably have to say Slider Inn. It's right near campus, just a 10-minute drive, and they have a really nice patio and the best French fries and sliders you will ever have.
Stephanie, I'm going to have to check that out. I've never been there. Okay, good to know. Sammy seems to be giving the thumbs up there. He's like, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, Sammy, you're next.
All right, like Ms. Marta said, I'm Sammy Morse. I'm originally from Springfield, Tennessee, so if you don't know where that is, don't blame you. It's just a little bit north of Nashville, about 30 minutes north. My favorite restaurant, like Cynthia said, it's kind of hard to choose. Slider and Elwood's are some big ones here in Memphis that I absolutely love. So I'll go with my favorite team. It's the Chicago Cubs. I love watching them play, especially that 2016 World Series.
Okay. Ian, you're up next.
Sorry, I got to mute on my mic and mute in chat. Hi, everybody. My name is Ian White. I'm from Memphis. Cynthia, I know where Somerville is. I did my first solo out there on the airport. My favorite restaurant is Gary's. Is a little hole in the wall in South Pendleton. If you ever want a cheap cheeseburger that will fill you up and have seconds, you go down there. Favorite team, I'm a San Jose Sharks fan. I've been a sports fan all my life, and now a proud fan of Suning Esports.
Okay. And Chris, last but not least.
Hello, my name is Chris, and I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and currently I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia right now. And I'll say my favorite restaurant would be, since y'all like sushi, I used to work there as well, would be Sakasubi Pacific Rim, the SPR. Go ahead and check them out. They're good people too.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I'm just going to take a quick look at make sure no one's in the waiting room. All right, we're looking pretty good there. Okay. So our first question, and if you are a little bit shy, and hopefully that was a good warm up, but if you're a little bit shy about this, I understand. I'm going to try to get through all the questions and we might circle back to some of them. Question number 1, what made you choose your Kemmons Wilson School major? at U of M? And if it's okay, I'm going to start with Stephanie because I've been dying to know the answer to this question from your perspective.
So 18 years old, most people don't really know what they want to do in college, let alone for the rest of their lives. And I definitely struggled with that when I started at the U of M. Switched majors a couple times, and then it wasn't until the middle of my sophomore year I started working at a fine dining restaurant in Memphis. And that's when I just really fell in love with hospitality and food and wine and customer service. And a friend actually talked to me because he was a KWS alum, and he said, hey, Memphis has this great hospitality program. So after talking with him and my family about it, I decided this is what I'm doing. I'm switching my major. I know I'm going to stick with it. I'm passionate about hospitality. And fast forward to today, here we are. I'd say I made a very, very good choice.
I will go ahead and go next. So in terms of my perspective on things, so I'm from the middle of the state, like I mentioned, only since you just joined us. I'm from Springfield, Tennessee, just a few miles north of Nashville, Tennessee. So when I was choosing my specific major, I really had a passion for sports. I knew that that was something that I certainly wanted to look into as far as colleges went. And with the in-state options that were given were, of course, many different institutions throughout the state of Tennessee. But Memphis has a unique program in that you can have these different types of internships that are possible, especially within the sporting sector. So, of course, you have the Memphis Tigers, which plays competitively at the Division I level. But you also have the opportunity to even go to the professional side of things. And I got to partake in a lot of unique, cool things, which I'll certainly talk about later. But the University of Memphis certainly had many of those desirable things when it comes into the sport industry, like a professional franchise and different types of levels and leagues, like the Memphis Grizzlies, the Memphis Redbirds, 901 FC, and of course, even the collegiate side of things as well. So there are a lot of great institutions out there, but Memphis is certainly unique when it comes to the sport industry here.
So that's interesting because I heard Stephanie talk about like just her work, right? And that helped her decide her major. And then Sammy talked about passion. So it's natural over time that if you are a first-year student coming to U of M, you're going to find your niche. But you have to get involved in some way, shape, or form. You have to either start working in the industry, get a taste of it, see if it's something that you really like. So whether it's an on-campus, off-campus job, a registered student organization, get involved because that can be the thing that helps you figure out your major. So I love those perspectives. Cynthia, I never found out what brought you to hospitality. I'm curious. What made you choose hospitality as a major?
So, like Stephanie, I bounced around a little bit, but my central goal in what I wanted to do remained to help people and just kind of, even with just making their day better, something simple. And so I actually went to the career services here on campus and, took all the personality tests and all of that. And I came across KWS and started looking into it and I got really interested. And then I actually got a job at a fine dining restaurant also, like Stephanie, and fell in love with it. So, and then I actually went into KWS program and I just felt like I was home. So I knew it was the right choice.
Very cool. And I just have to say, because I came from career services, that just like makes me teary-eyed. Like, like you went to career services and that is one of the things that they do. Like they help students figure out their major and like, there are all these great assessments that are free that are included in your tuition and fees. So do not go paying for any outside service to help you figure out, what tests you can take to help you figure out your major. So I'm going to go on to the next question here and see, what was your favorite class or professor and why? So we're not going to talk about like professors that we didn't like or classes that we didn't get good grades in, right? We're going to talk about the positive here. So, hey, Noah, can I throw this question at you first?
Yeah, sure. So because I'm a transfer student, I was able to kind of skip over some classes that typically are here that KWS offers, which is a good thing because it allowed my track to stay on for me to stay on track. But I think probably one of my favorite classes that I've taken would have been well, there's a couple. I love Professor Frank Saida. He's a he's a really cool professor. He makes class super easy, super fun. But probably my most favorite class, I always butcher her last name. Um, it was taught by she always told us to call her Susie because I can no one can ever pronounce her last name. But it was the hospitality and analysis class where we basically everything that we learned throughout the entire semester um, developed it created us to be able to our final project, which was we had to create our own hotel. We had to choose our own hotel brand. Um, of a current hotel brand. So at the time, I was working at the Peabody Hotel downtown Memphis. So I chose that hotel and I created my entire Peabody hotel from scratch. That was a super fun thing to do because it taught us how hotels, you don't just say, oh, I'm going to build a hotel, and the next day you have a hotel. There's so much that goes into it.
So no, I think it's interesting that one of your favorite classes was one of our most challenging classes. Frank teaches that integrative challenge class, and that's a 4,000 level class. So when you come to the U of M, you might get like an intro class that's a 1,000 level class. And then as you progress through your undergraduate experience, you take 2,000 level, then 3,000 level, then 4,000 level classes. So that's the natural progression. So yes, a class can be really challenging, but typically the most challenging classes are the ones that are tied to your major, and they don't feel like they're that hard because it's already something that you've chosen. Some students struggle with those like general education classes that you have to take for your degree, but know that you're going to get over that hump with the gen ed classes, and you'll definitely start focusing more on your major possibly by your second semester of sophomore year. So that tends to be the trend. Chris, can I ask you, what was your favorite class or professor and why?
My favorite class at the University of Memphis was definitely Intro to Sports Management and Leisure, which is actually the very first class you take. And I had Dr. Hutchison as a teacher. So the reason I chose this class and I chose Dr. Hutchison is because he actually took the time to actually get to know me. And also, all these teachers in the program, whether it's hospitality or sports management, they all really want to help you no matter what. Because I'll tell you a fun story. When I switched majors to sports management from being a nutrition major for 5 years, I actually told Dr. Hutchison in the elevator when it was just me and him in the elevator, and I told him, "I'm sorry, sir, but this is going to be my first time taking a class in 2 years, so I'm probably not going to be a great student, but I promise you, I'm going to be the first one that's actually going to try his hardest." So, and he actually just looked at me and laughed, and he was like, "Well, if you're a bad student, you're not alone, but all you got to do is try." So I just took that to heart, and I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then also in this class, I actually got the chance to meet Ms. Marta for the first time, where she was actually before she was the retention, coordinator, she was actually the what you call teacher or no.
Yeah, career specialist.
Yeah, career specialist. Marta. So she actually took me from someone who, spoke like I'm from Memphis into someone who's actually been in a professional setting before. She taught me how to dress actually, because I actually came in with a mismatch, the suit, when I did a mock interview with her. And that's actually one of the things she commented on at the end. She's tough, but you need that. And I definitely needed that thanks to Miss Marta.
Thanks for those kind words, Chris. I have to say, I haven't met a single KWS instructor who just really doesn't have the student's best interest at heart. I have seen instructors give rides to, the mechanics with students. I've seen them take money out of their own pocket sometimes because a student may have fallen on a hard time, or it's it's amazing to me. And I think it's partially because we are hospitality, right? That we are a reflection of the very industry that we prepare students for. So, and Dr. Hutchinson, like he's a tough teacher too, but like I think it's some of those tougher instructors that push you to excel. So I'm happy you had that great experience in his class, and all of the intro classes are really going to help you decide, like, do I really want to stick with that major? So try to take the intro class within your first year of joining the University of Memphis. So on the sport and leisure management side, it's called, it's basically on hospitality, it's called Business of Hospitality. So it's not called Intro to Hospitality. It's called Business of Hospitality. And then the intro class on the Sport and Leisure Management side is called Foundations of Sport and Leisure Management. So you've got to know the name of the courses. So if you forget that, just reach back out to me and I'll tell you so you can make sure you register for the right first class, because that class is really going to set you up and give you enough of a taste of the major so you can decide whether or not you want to stick with it, for your undergraduate degree. I'm going to go off to the next question here. So, what was one of your favorite KWS memories? So the funny thing here is, like, at KWS, we do a lot of events because we have event management on the sports side and we have event management on the hospitality side. So typically, like, that leads to a lot of memory making because events are hard to put together. So Ian, if it's okay, I'm going to start with you. What was your favorite KWS memory and why?
Well, it starts off something like this. I said, I'm used to doing events. I've used to do it for Southwest to here. But I think one of the coolest things and most unique things is I had Mr. Frank's project back when he ran. I think we was the capstone project running the hotel, which now with somebody else. That project, for most people, they looked at that project as just another day. But that same semester, I had to pitch the idea of taking a topic I love, like esports, and having to then pitch that to the Dean Pattercurthy. So I got to look at that project and pitch that project like any developer would try to pitch. For me, that was like the most unique experience because I finally got to see all the work I put in and what used to be considered like an extracurricular, now in something curricular, and ran together. And Mr. Frank just loved it. Loved it. And we went out there. Our group actually used used resources in front of us. Mm-hmm. And when I could tell anyone who's interested, never be afraid to use all the resources available at your disposal. Because teachers like seeing that. Two, when you get to the real world, you got to be able to use your all 4 quadrants of your brain. And then finally, you got to be nice enough to work with people to make sure it gets done. Because we were crunching.
Ian, I don't know if you know this right now, but thanks to the work that you did in that class, not only did they launch, because you were part of that project too, they launched that first esports class, but right now they are doing a market analysis and they are considering developing it as a minor for the Sport and Leisure Management program. So that'll be a new minor at the Kemmons Wilson School if all goes according to plan by next fall. And that started because of you and your passion for esports. Here we had a hospitality major, but he was like, hey guys, esports is where, and he had the data to support it. So he used all of those, tools in his toolkit, that he developed over his years, both at Southwest and at U of M. I'm going to give Southwest some credit here too, but he packaged it all together. And we're finally at the stage of putting together the curriculum proposal for the curriculum committee. And that has to go all the way up to the state. It takes some time. But if all goes according to plan, we're going to be able to launch that program by fall of 2021. So thank you for your hard work. Did you want to add one more thing? Go ahead.
I had a question on side note of that. Is there any way that you could squeeze me, is help me squeeze in? Because one of the issues, like I said, use all your resources. Well, I think the second hardest thing is about the esports industry, even though I should push this later, but just come back to the fact that sometimes some industries are hard to get in when you don't have the recommended experience. But I just want to thank you, Miss Martha, for one, helping me with that, because you don't realize how much you, Mr. Floor, helped me push me to that point. And I just want to thank Dean Powder Kirkley for actually taking the time to listen to that whole proposal. It was nerve wracking because that same night, me and Stefan had to write a mock curriculum that night. It was difficult. So props to all the professors who have to deal with writing curriculum.
Yeah,
Props to you.
it's no easy feat. So the one thing, and Ian touches on some really cool stuff. So like, I'll let you know that in the hospitality program, a lot of our curriculum is tied to you earning certifications in the industry. So whether those certifications come from AHLEI, which is the American Hotel Lodging Educational Institute, or if it comes from the National Restaurant Association on the culinary side. Now this is a perfect opportunity for me to segue to Stephanie, because it's one of those certifications that Stephanie attained that landed her in with her current company. And since joining that company, you've actually been promoted. So Stephanie, can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So the Advanced Lodging Management course is the name of the class, where you learned about the STAR reports, so hotel data, and you find the story of the data. So I actually got my CHIA certification, which is a certification in hotel industry analytics. And having that certification on my resume, I'm telling you, that is the reason why they chose me over the other candidates, because they knew I studied this in school. I already had, the base knowledge to help me get started at this company. And normally when they would hire people at STR, they're not already certified. So that's something they have to earn while they're at work. So the certifications that you get in this program are just so helpful when you're trying to find a job in college, and then especially once you graduate. So I'm definitely grateful for that class and having the opportunity to earn that certification before graduation.
I think that's amazing. And so definitely, if you earn the certifications in these classes, put those on your resume, because those are resume boosters, okay? And make sure you're putting those certifications on your LinkedIn profile. And I know the applicants out there may not have a LinkedIn, but don't worry, we'll cover that in one of your classes. So we cover it on the sports side, and we cover it on the hospitality side too. Let me see, one more favorite KWS memory. And why? You know what, Cynthia, you're coming upon your senior year. I'm curious. What's been your favorite memory so far, and why?
Goodness. I honestly think it was one of the moments in your class, Marta, when we had the financial advisors come in and we did this whole little game. And it was so eye-opening to what needs to be done in your finances. And it kind of ties into the previous question of what was your favorite class, because Marta, the pre-internship development class was my favorite. And so with this one activity, you saw how life can throw curveballs at you, and how much anything from life insurance to car payments and stuff like that was. And it was just really, like I said, eye-opening. And it was, the whole class was just such an inspiration to do well and get your LinkedIn profile, make your resume, make your cover letter. And so that one activity kind of started that aha moment for me. So that's what my one memory that sticks out is.
It's funny because so many students say that about that class, because it's a financial awareness class. Segment of the class, I should say. And what we find is that in high school, they're not covering financial management and kind of those life skills 101 anymore. But we want our Tigers to not only graduate, but excel and be able to thrive post-graduation. So we literally redesigned that whole syllabus and made sure that we included some of that in there, because we wanted our Tigers to, know what a FICO score was if they didn't know that, and understand how a FICO score can impact your, your insurance rate and every other rate that you're ever going to get, your car loan rate, So I'm loving that kind of feedback from the students, and I'll definitely have to keep that in there. Thank you for that insight, Cynthia. I'm going to go on to question 4 because I'm looking at the time and I got to make sure that Monique can ask her questions too. So question number 4, where did you complete your internship or field experience? Okay, so I know that Noah has a really cool internship experience. So Noah, if you wouldn't mind, starting first with this question.
So I did my internship at Walt Disney World in Florida, right before the pandemic hits. Probably one of the best experiences I did, even though it was short-lived. I had been trying to get with that internship since I was a freshman in college at my other community college. So I'd say probably I applied 6 or 7 times to that. So it was out of the whim that I decided to apply for it again, and I luckily got it and met some of the most special people in my life there. So it was such a cool thing because I learned, even though I was assigned to just one specific area. If you've been to Disney World, then you know that in Magic Kingdom, which is where my home park was, you have the different lands from Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, Adventureland. I'm blanking on one. Frontierland. And you can do, and so I was in Fantasyland working on just attractions. So I learned a lot of the operational side. I got to see, and even though it's supposed to be a secret, it's not really a secret. Magic Kingdom is on the 2nd floor. So everyone that is in Magic Kingdom visiting, you're actually on the 2nd level of the park. And underneath is all these tunnels called the utilidors. That helps cast members get from one area to another area, and it was super cool, seeing how all of it works because you don't realize what's all happening underneath you when you're at the park, and how people get from one place to another. Because I couldn't walk from the front of the park in my costume to where I was. It looked weird seeing someone dressed like a squire, which was my costume, walking in what's supposed to be the Wild West. So it was super cool just seeing all the operational side of everything, plus the perks were good. I got to go to the parks whenever for free.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that story. I definitely need to ask someone on the sports side. So let me see. Hey, Sammy, where did you do your internship?
Mine was actually through development. So I got to know Dr. Walker. He was an adjunct professor and took one of his courses and developed a relationship to find out he's really high up with the athletic department, and certainly wanted to develop that relationship. And it ended up becoming my internship. And it was really awesome to kind of see the insights of how to kind of meet those top tier people. So you wonder how we are able to raise a lot of money to get a new basketball facility, for instance, an indoor football facility. Well, it's developing relationships with many important people in the Memphis area and former alumni. So that's a tremendous aspect that was a tremendous aspect of sports that I didn't even really consider whenever I was, 17, 18 years old. So talking with those people, we get to meet a lot of people, not only on the sidelines and making sure that they're, having an excellent time at football and basketball games, but those people are, very, very successful, and getting to know them and their specific quirks and how they got super successful was certainly something that I absolutely loved. And, you're inside the facilities, you have very, very, unique passes in order to, visit different types of suites within the football games and basketball games, and making sure everyone's good, and still be able to kind of go back into the office and make sure things are running normally. Season tickets are still going out, parking passes, and all that good stuff. So athletics development was where I had my internship.
that, I mean, you touch on so many things because it really does help anyone understand that so much of sport and leisure management ties into the hospitality management. Like the overlap is very natural, and that's why the university put the two majors in the same school. So that's a great, I didn't even think to touch on that. Like, why are we both both majors in the same school? But that is essentially why. There's a lot of natural overlap in the industry. So you can do marketing in hospitality, you do marketing in sport, you do customer service, and you develop relationships. It's all, you know, there's a lot of overlap. So if you're really savvy, you'll be someone like Chris, who's been able to like diversify his skill set enough so that he segues back and forth between the two industries kind of like seamlessly because they overlap so much together. Thanks, Sammy, for touching on all of that stuff. So you need to know that if you come to the Kemmons Wilson School, you will have to complete an internship to get your degree. So on the hospitality side, there's actually a class called 4911. That's the number, and that is the internship class. On the sports side, the only variance is that you have the option of doing field experience for up to 12 credit hours, or you do the senior capstone. And personally, from my career services days, I can tell you that the students who do the senior capstone experience tend to have a richer experience and are able to promote more on their resume because of the totality of that senior capstone, because you're capturing it all at one time. And at the end of that class, you do this presentation that really builds your portfolio of what skill sets you have and what you're able to do, so that when you start going for job interviews where they ask you to do a presentation to even get the job, it feels really natural to you. It's easy because you've done it so many times while you were a student at KWS. So you will be developing those presentation skills. You're going to have to master PowerPoint at some point. You know, those are all skills that you'll be adding to your resume. So I do have one more question. It's 5:39 right now, so let's see if I can get through everything because I want to make sure we leave time for Monique here. So if you could go back in time and do anything better or differently while you were a student, okay, or for Cynthia and Noah, that would be, you know, your freshman, sophomore, junior year, because you're seniors now, what would it be and why? So like that whole 2020 perspective, you know, this way the students who are coming to us cannot make those same mistakes, maybe like you can learn from someone else's mistake. So how about Ian? Do you wanna go at this first? Go ahead.
Well, everybody. Well, this is unique for two things. I have two of them. Number one, if I knew now that I could have done the FedEx Purple One Ways program, I would have done it. Keep in mind, I love KWS, but I started as going to be a pilot. I started in the Air Force, ROTC, things happened. That kind of went away. And then I came to KWS. The second thing, it goes back to KWS. KWS allowed me to use what I learned from culinary from Southwest and go forward. I probably wish I didn't get in trouble for staying on campus for so long. Mark, you weren't witness to this, but on occasion, they found me literally at school, hanging out at school. I was dedicated to getting work done. But if I can go back, I'll probably lock in. Like I definitely recommend anyone to, like, if you know what you're going to do it. If you're not sure about school, take some time, work, figure out exactly, because this money costs. I went from having like enough scholarship to pay to stay in a dorm and cover school to literally having to barely make it on my own with Pell Grant. And I was thankful that things happened between the time I was on my way out to the time I graduated, that I managed to get some type of financial aid to finish school.
So Ian, but that's a great point to share too, because at least on the hospitality side, like if you have a certain, you know, grade point average, and we do have a number of merit-based scholarships at KWS, we actually give over $135,000 a year based on those relationships that we developed, touching back to what Sammy was saying before. Like, we have a number of donors that support our program. And so if you're maintaining that grade point average, that makes you a more favorable candidate to get those coveted scholarships to help you pay for school. And I agree, Ian, like, you don't want to leave school with a lot of debt. So I don't understand when students like choose to just take like 6 credit hours when you can take 12 to 18 credit hours at the same rate at the U of M, right? So take advantage of that if you're an in-state student, so that you can get through your degree and really start making that serious paycheck, you know, after you graduate. So try not to dilly-dally, because the longer you take to complete your degree, the more money it is going to cost you in the long run. Sammy, do you want to touch on that at all, because you are from admissions, like your perspective on it?
Well, I'll kind of tie in both my student perspective and my, of course, job perspective in admissions. Is that the university's done all those different types of initiatives to make sure that they put a real emphasis on value. And so, like, that tuition cap, a lot of students will partake. Tuition's capped at 12 hours. So that incentivizes you to take 15, 16 hours, for instance. We also have a guaranteed tuition plan. So you'll be locked into your own set tuition for 4 years. So your own set tuition will not raise, which is something that I didn't get to partake in. So certainly think about that whenever you have that value-based thing. And of course, we have different types of merit-based scholarships that you can stack on in terms of the HOPE, and there are also departmental scholarships that you can stack on with the HOPE. So KWS does an excellent job of making sure that there are plenty of departmental scholarships that you can apply for. And this would be about that time where scholarships would be opening up within the November month. So those are just some of the perspectives from an alumnus and someone that also works in admissions as well.
I love that. You know, I'm going to sound really old here, but back in the day when I went to college, every year the tuition went up and it went up. And I had no idea why the same class that I could have taken the previous semester was all of a sudden more money. And I am just so honored to work at a university that has really made a concerted effort. For the past 3 years, they have not increased tuition rates. So that makes it more affordable. And as long as you do not stop out as a University of Memphis student, the tuition is set to remain the same. And that's what Sammy was talking about there with the value, affordability, and those tuition caps. And these are all things that have taken place within the years of President Rudd being the University of Memphis president. Like, they've really made some huge strides in making it affordable so that more people can attain an undergraduate degree. So if I could go back and do things differently, I'd probably, I mean, luckily I was able to keep my GPA up. But my biggest regret from my undergraduate years is that I did not do a study abroad program. I, at the time, couldn't afford it. A lot of my peers could afford study abroad, but I always had to work and go to school to help me pay for my books and such. So if I could go back, I would definitely do study abroad. And here at the U of M, there's actually scholarships for study abroad. So in a post-COVID world, know that you can take advantage of either the KWS study abroad programs, because we do have a number of programs that our faculty will take you abroad, and you earn college credit while you were studying in another country. It's an amazing thing, and I wish I could have done that. I know Dr. Berg has taken students to the UK to study, I believe it was like Olympic related. Sammy, were you in that group? Did you do that study abroad?
You know, it's kind of funny. I think about this question, and that was a program that I was highly interested in. Talked to Dr. Bird. It's working with Manchester United
Okay.
and types of soccer teams over there in the United Kingdom.
Okay. And we also have study abroad programs now going to Tuscany and to Switzerland. So those are some great opportunities. I always highlight how I was so jealous after that last Switzerland group came back because they had to endure different spa treatments while they were there. And I was like, are you serious? Like you got college credit for having to do like facials and massages, like lucky you. So take advantage of the opportunities if you get there. Hey, Sammy, you mentioned something that I'm going to ask if you can share with me. Will you share with me the FAFSA, the scholarship nights that you guys are working on?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be crucial for a number of other applicants who just literally today I was on the phone with them. So that'll really help out. For those who are interested in learning more about our culinary side, for the rest of our showcase week, we do have some other events coming up. Tomorrow night, we're going to be on Instagram Live again at the Culinary Institute. We're going to be taking a peek into Chef Andra's advanced pastry class. And so those students have been with her a number of semesters now. So they're doing more intricate pastry work. And then on Friday night on Facebook, you will get to see Chef Erica doing her thing where she's creating a signature Japanese dish. So we have these other virtual events happening, but by all means, definitely check us out at memphis.edu/Wilson because you'll find a lot more detail there. And I encourage you to reach out. And if you want a copy of this PowerPoint, all I need is your contact information, and I will send you this PowerPoint. We have lots of social media now that I'm excited about. So thanks to my student ambassadors who've done a wonderful, wonderful job with this. We had to be on TikTok because that's where a lot of high school students are at. So how do you recruit students virtually? You go where they are. And so we started our TikTok channel. We got it approved by the University of Memphis, but we're also on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So please follow us. We also have some accounts for the Culinary Institute, but in most cases, if it's shared on the KWS site, it's also shared on the Culinary Institute's page as well. And I have to thank you so much for spending your time with me tonight. The students, the alumni, like really my heart is just so happy right now because not only did I get to see some faces that I really, really miss, but like I think you guys are just great, like you're shining stars, you're great representation of all that we do at KWS. So thank you for being with me tonight and for volunteering to do this first time ever Q&A virtual panel.